Since you're here, I'm gonna assume that you know how these iceberg videos work, and what Madness Combat is. Whether you're a new fan or a long-lasting member of their community, there's always something new you can find out. A user named Dakadar already made his own iceberg, but since his was filled to the brim with bullshit, we decided to make our own. With his help, we could pinpoint which ones were worth covering and correct some misconceptions. There's not a lot of information about certain entries, so a tag bar will be used to represent how much info there is based on the individual cases. Welcome to the Madness Combat Community Iceberg. Over at Newgrounds, it's known as the official Madness Day, a tradition upheld since 2007, where every major movie comes out. Until 2015, the best movies were rewarded with monetary prizes, some even ranging up to $1,500. Sadly, over the years, the prizes would gradually diminish until they would completely disappear for 4 years, which definitely contributed to a lack of interest from outsiders. That is until 2020, where Crinkles would create a PayPal pool prize where fans themselves would sponsor the prizes, gathering over $1,800. The best year is a disputable topic, since a lot of them have their strong points, but definitely the absolute worst year for Madness was 2017, a year that contained less than 20 movies and a record-breaking low with only about 2 worthwhile movies, while the rest of them were mostly just spam. For a couple of years now, YouTube's been plagued with Team Fortress 2 dubbings of popular Madness animations. Most of them have been deleted, thankfully, due to the copyright system. A notable incident was one time that a dub was made of Gabriel Barsh's animation, and it got more views than the original video. By reasons unknown, around 2018, the Madness community saw a rise in mobile animators, none of which were welcomed, yet they persisted even until today, where they can be found posting their rudimentary and majorly boring animations. Neztech.org is a site most new animators use to get resources for animating, like sprite packs and sound effects. Most of all, if not all, the sprite sheets were very poorly put together, and contained a lot of badly decompiled sprites, so I wouldn't recommend actually using it. If you'd like to start animating, you're better off asking for people for sprite packs on Newgrounds. Most of the Madness series was released before Crinkles moved over to YouTube, meaning he could create trailers for his upcoming animations and preloaders in the Swift files. Here are some examples. Before Cheshire became the main music maker for the Madness series, Crinkles would have to experiment with other songs, some of them not being used in the end. You can find examples of this over on the Madness Combat Community Soundtrack playlist. Before Skype and Discord became the main meeting grounds for the Madness community, it had its own forums, the first being madnesscombat.com, which later changed into mc.net. Some screenshots of the forums have been archived. As you can see, not a lot has changed in the past 10 years or so. The only resemblance of mc.net is a 2008 collab under the same name. Similar to the forums, it was deleted from Newgrounds for having copyrighted music. The closest thing we have to Madness forums now is r/madnesscombat, which has been around since 2010. The year's 2002. Newgrounds is still in its early days, and the first Madness cartoon is posted. We're not counting Marshmallow Madness because he has a series predating it called Breadman, consisting of 3 episodes. As was common at the time, the series is filled with really edgy and unrelated death scenes of the main protagonist dying, whose name hasn't even been revealed to this day. If you've ever played classic Project Nexus on Newgrounds, you might have noticed a secret achievement. The achievement called "Can You Hear Me Now" is unlocked by waiting in one of the first rooms in the story for a secret text to appear. There are a lot of tropes within the Madness Combat community that any decent content creator would consider to be a sin. 2 previous entries, TF2 Dubs and Flip-A-Clip Animators, are both examples of this. As terrible as those sins may be, they don't compare to the most vilified name in the eyes of Madness content creators, Pawit Wongwon. Redubbing or stealing sprites to animate on a phone would already be enough to draw the eye of the community, but Pawit manages to innovate these sins in such an impressively horrific fashion by creating animations so mortifyingly bad that at first you'd believe it to be some sort of satire. Instead, you're subjected to the sickening reality of that what you're witnessing is the result of someone who genuinely puts love and effort into their work. Each animation he uploads consists of poorly ripped off Madness sprites straight from the Google image search, often marred by broken shading and mismatched styles. To sprinkle on the awfulness, Pawit injects other characters from My Little Pony and Yandere Simulator into his crafted stories, all of which is done with the subtlety and cohesion of a rusty heroin needle straight to the testicle. Many of these tales revolve around his OC, a stock Madness agent with a beret and a badge ripped off the stock image library, having misadventures with a number of ponies and Yandere Sim characters whilst utilizing the TF2 voice lines to dub his own. The pony characters are often very sexualized in a disturbing and unspeakably cringy fashion, to where you begin to question if the man that put this all together is even a human being. Ignoring the horrific content of the videos, Pawit has mainly been hated thanks to an incredible amount of views he obtained on some of his worst uploads, often having more views than the most popular Madness animators have on their own channels. To this day, he continues to create his insults against Madness, only growing stronger with each passing upload. All these were surface level things, as the name implies, but to understand what we're really about to get into, some context needs to be given. Some people might be mentioned which many of you may not know. So, as for reference, a graph will be created, illustrating the status of everyone. The x-axis will represent work put into things, like animations, and y-axis will be for how well known the person is. So, for example, Crinkles, the creator of Madness, would be put here. Madnesia, 19, someone who's not very well known but puts lots of effort into his content, would stand here. And someone who doesn't do anything, but is still well known, like Red Guy, an admin of the second biggest Madness server, would be here. Or basically, any other Madness server moderators. About servers. It is important to mention them, since they do play a big part in what's about to come. Since around 2017, a year Discord made Skype and every other form of communication obsolete, the community has been divided into three main groups. The biggest and most well known, clocking in at over 1,000 members, was CRM, or better known as Conference Room of Madness. It was the closest Madness had become to having an actual official Discord server. It would house Project Nexus conversations, and the most notable people like Crinkles and Cheshire. Because of its enormous size, Madness wouldn't be mentioned as often as you'd expect. In fact, for the most part, it wouldn't even be that distinguishable from any other big Discord server. All this was spoken in past terms, since by now the server is gone and has been replaced by a new one by the name of DOM, D-O-M. But that's not the focus of this video. Anything relating to that group will be referred to as CRM. Imagine if Madness had a kindergarten. The last notable group was Exile, a name derived from the word exile, referring to those who didn't fit into the first two groups and would rather gather here. The place was hosted by Cree, placed here, and Kenemy, placed here. Its main focus was on animation skill improvement, general tips, and other things. Compared to the previously two mentioned Madness servers, Exile would have very lenient rules, making it a really edgy place, but comparably so, a much more useful one, since most of the animators who posted here would share their knowledge and content with everyone to know. If it all had to be summarized, CRM would be this screenshot, GP this screenshot, and Exile this one. With all that out of the way, we're heading into the shallow water.
The Greedy Collab. Back in late 2017, Dooningdarn announced he would host his first collaboration by the name The Madness Greedy Collab. Unfortunately, it is very unlikely that the collab will ever be finished or released due to many internal trials and tribulations, including many members sitting on their hands and refusing to work, and a general failure to commit to a project. You can search up and actually find some of the content that was intended for the collab, examples being Gabriel Bosch, Magnesia 19, and Juanford 66. Mandatory Madness. An infamous Madness fan animation that was uploaded to Newgrounds in 2014 and has since brought the community to its knees, featuring extremely janky and low-quality art and animations alongside a tone that will shake the foundations of every soul that dares to witness the full project. The animation is most often memed for the main protagonist's face, poorly illustrated and malformed head with gritted teeth and bloodshot eyes. Surprisingly, the creator of the project, Shilling Studios, still responds to reviews of the movie to this day, where he manages to show humility in the face of his project's infamy. This alone makes him more respectable than most contemporary animators. Delimortes Ascended. Delimortes, a man with the status of a legend. He's been the first to achieve, at his time, an unheard animation skill that even Crinkles himself did not possess. His style has paved the way for every animator today, setting a standard to strive towards. A close second behind him would be Dim, who over the course of the last 6 years has become functionally inactive. Rebel 666. This is an ex-wife of Crinkles, not very well known to the community for quite obvious reasons. She's credited as the silent director for the Madness Combat series. Both she and Crinkles separated in 2014, and her account has been inactive since. However, she has responded to some questions after 2014, like in this example. Cool.swift. This was a file that's been passed around the community for some time, but has been dated back to 2017, containing a loud screamer and some flashing images when opened. What's notable is that if you had a printer connected to your computer, the file would start automatically printing tons of scat images. It's unknown whether someone actually got pranked in such a way, but the printing itself has been confirmed to work. JSoul sued. JSoul, a well-known sprite maker, was commissioned by user Sean C. Glover to create a specific sprite sheet for him back in 2017. Since back then, Sean was closely affiliated with the Project Nexus team, JSoul agreed and a price was settled. After the job was complete, JSoul sent the files over to Sean, who then in turn paid him a portion of the agreed-upon amount. Sean explained later that he would pay the rest at an undetermined date. Unfortunately, some other controversies have been happening in the background, which turned public opinion against Sean. Because of a misunderstanding, Sean demanded to be given back the money he paid, but JSoul declined. After it was certain he wouldn't be getting the rest of his money, he posted the sprites for everyone to use, which prompted Sean into filing a misjudged lawsuit. Sean would continue bothering JSoul for a while, until the situation calmed down and was eventually forgotten. Madness Betrayal Collab. Sometime around early 2017, Kelzad got Cheshire to make an agreement to make music for his Realm series, and thus he no longer had a need for Degener, who at this point had made the soundtrack for all previous episodes. Because Degener was kicked from the project while he was in the middle of working on the track, this started a gigantic drama in which Degener and Kelzad went back and forth with extremely idiotic attacks and backbiting. During the height of all this, JSoul thought it would be a good idea to create a collab where both Degener and Kelzad would kill each other in every clip, often with a comedic twist. After its release, the collab was taken very poorly by both sides of the drama, and DeGener filed a YouTube community strike on the video. After some time, JSOUL deleted the collab, and now this drama is best remembered by the infamous "War Begin" message from DeGener. Kelzad.mp4. In December 2020, a video exposing Kelzad's extremely toxic and violent behavior was released to the public and spread through several community social media accounts and Discord servers, massively swaying public opinion. The video featured leaked audio from Sin's admin chat regarding them not being given full control of a new Project Nexus themed server, as Crinkles wanted the Project Nexus 2 Steam community moderators to run it instead. This caused Kelzad to throw a temper tantrum, screeching at Gig50 and Amethy, who were trying to calm him down, while he was making constant insults towards Crinkles and mocking his own team members.
We're never gonna get anywhere with this fucking place! Because you're pussyfooting your fucking arguments, we're never gonna get anywhere with this shit! You're fucking pussy! Oh, Uncle Funko!
Hey, relax,
oh.
relax.
I don't care.
Relax.
I literally don't fucking care.
Furthermore, he began screaming about how Crinkles was an idiot that didn't deserve to have any position in the community, and that anybody that disagreed with him was somehow malicious or undeserving of being around him.
There's no fucking idea what it takes. None of them fucking do. We're here to help them, and as soon as I tried to fucking help them, they just ruined it. I don't care what anyone says, I never fucking care about if Matt chooses anyone for Matt has already lost the fucking respect that I have for him anyway. He's a fucking, what do you call, spineless fucking asshole. You need to remember, Billy, these two guys are his mouthpieces. They are literally what Matt thinks. They are not to be fucking trusted. I know you're like, oh,
the mind and the body.
Oh, he's the creator of madness. He's still an idiot.
Sometime after the video was made public, Kelzad crafted a response and posted it to Twitter. He claims that the cartoonishly childish outburst was not representative of him on a personal or professional level, which is only believable to his fans that are entirely unaware of his toxic history in the community. Kelzad also states that the spreading of the video was more harmful than anything he had said, ignoring the fact that he's consistently subjected Crinkles to humiliation publicly for years, and that his own outburst was recorded in a group chat within a public server. By the time the dust had settled, GP and the rest of the Sin staff's reputation in the community had plummeted, and nearly all Madness content creators had severed ties with Kelzad.
Сначала Эшо может показаться обычным Madness-аниматором, который сделал некоторую долю работы и ушел, чтобы продолжить заниматься своими делами в жизни. Но все не так просто, как кажется. Владимир, проживающий в городе Владимире, присоединился к Newgrounds 23 июля 2013 года. Получив некоторый очень простой опыт, он решил создать туториалы, в которых он видел, где он делает такие вещи, как сделать оружие во флеше, худший способ создания спрайтов оружия, туториалы для новичков, как создать раны, как стать посмешищем, просто пытаясь создать свою собственную кровь, туториалы для новичков, маскинг в анимации, самый утомительный способ использовать маскировку и так далее. А также у Эшо был старый никнейм Аудеймос с другим персонажем Аудеймосом, одержимым Деймосом, который он придумал исходя из своего сна. Подтверждение этому вы видите на своих скриншотах. Шизофреник, не правда ли? Из-за того, что он был не очень опытным, его вера в собственные способности вызывала насмешки в некоторых кругах русского фэндома, который в то время не очень его и любил. Эшо продолжал анимировать до июля 2014 года, когда он провел свою первую коллаборацию – Madness Infected Collab. Это был незначительно большой успех для первого коллаборациониста, и через 3 месяца он сразу же приступил к работе над другим коллабом, который на этот раз стал одним из самых просматриваемых Madness коллабов и по сей день. Но прежде чем это произошло, он сделал туториал о том, как создавать Madness коллаборации, что только вызвало дальнейшие насмешки над ним, поэтому он удалил это видео. За пределами России он собрал довольно много фанатов.
Сначала давай разберемся, что же такое коллаборация.
Ему нравится.
Слово коллаборация — это совместная деятельность, процесс, которым занимаются несколько человек. Кроме того, во время этого процесса происходит обмен опытом и знаниями. Когда проект.
Что привело его к таким контактам с крупнейшими аниматорами, как Габриэл Борч и Джанер. Со всей этой силой его ЧСВ могло соперничать только с Киллзадом, который удалил его из друзей, что было разрушительно для Эшо. Его ЧСВ стало одновременно откровенно большим и чрезвычайно хрупким. Поэтому любое упоминание о нем или использование его в видео для пародии заставило бы его злоупотреблять системой репортов, чтобы удалить видео, которое ему не нравится. К этому моменту он уже не мог быть уважаемым в русском комьюнити, так что даже некоторые люди начали поворачиваться к нему спиной. Одним из самых печально известных случаев цензуры с его стороны было удаление диса на него на Newgrounds.
Ты потираешься ловно, стримишь давно, крафтишь из отсохших какашек своей бабушки копию М16, а затем рисуешь его в флеше, представляя весь этот пиздец как автомат, нарисованный в стиле Кринкелса, а шкалота в комментариях истекает слюной и пишет тебе, как сильно хочет от тебя детей. Ты настолько неэлитный тупой гомосик, что тебя по полной программе обсирает даже вонючий эмжорик школьника вместо героя.
Тогда-то он и стал настоящим параноиком. Атаки копирайтом продолжились, и после того, как его последний проект Bunny Kill Collab не получил достаточно количества просмотров для своих стандартов, он объявил о своем уходе из Madness. Также он бросил свой колледж и работу в МВидео, чтобы... Также он бросил свой колледж и работу в МВидео, чтобы продолжить делать стримы на Twitch и в своем канале YouTube. Но это у него не вышло. В конце Эшо стал поучительным рассказом о том, что может сделать с человеком раздутое ЧСВ.
Any evidence by now has vanished, so it's more of a hearsay, but it's still interesting enough to be put into the list. Whenever asked, Killzad used to claim that he had the idea for the whole Realm series before even animating Madness, that the series was supposed to revolve around a tower, which coincidentally became the Science Tower from Project Nexus. This would be followed by claims such as, I sketched Elon in a notebook before the auditor was revealed, etc. Screenshots of these claims could be considered lost media. Back in around 2009, a user by the name of Minion Maniac would steal Crinkle's animations and upload them on his Newgrounds account. He received copious amounts of backlash and had his movies removed. Sometime later, Lewis, in collaboration with Crinkles and Tomamoto, would create a parody short, which was mentioned in the incident.
I am Heavy Weapons Guy, and I am Real Crinkles. My God, that is not Real Crinkles. Who take my madness?
Bill Barsh is the canonical brother of Gabriel Barsh. He's been introduced in a movie, The Barsh Bros #1, back in 2008, but hasn't been mentioned ever since. He's also one of the only characters capable of defeating Gabriel. From 2014 to 2016, Crinkles wouldn't create any Madness animations, since his focus was mainly on the Project Nexus game, so the announcement that he was working on a new movie was quite a big deal. Unfortunately, the animation itself would get leaked for no real reason. Here's how the story goes. Somebody who had access to the files would give them to Sethic, a man who would later go on to help Crinkles with his animations. Sethic would pass the files on to Killzad, who would boast about owning them in private to some people. Around 2 months before the movie's release, Killzad would show the files off in his stream, which got him into some controversy, but people quickly forgot about the whole situation.
Hey guys, do you want to see a little bit of a preview to Crinkles' next animation? Haha. Well, here you go. There it is.
Have a look at Madness 11.
It's not Madness 11. It's a thingy.
Orange Madness is a series created by a mysterious, allegedly South Korean animator, Dragon Fighter. There must have been a lot of deleted movies made by him, but his most puzzling are his oldest videos. His original run of Orange Combat starts with Orange Combat 3, implying there may have been lost episodes. As previously mentioned, unlike Xtile, CRM and GP were really big Discord servers, which meant they had really tight security which didn't allow things such as NSFW, slurs, etc. The N-word refers to the iconic screenshot taken on the GP Discord before it was made public. By now, it's obviously been deleted, but evidence of hypocrisy still holds true. First mentioned around 2009 was a movie being made by Gabriel Barsh, with the premise of, quote, a bunch of bad associates fighting each other for no reason. Some of the roster has later been revealed, but the movie itself never came out. Incidentally, a couple of years later, Della Mortez would steal the idea and start working on his own version of Wamfa. That also not going anywhere inspired J-Soul to take over the idea and create his own series, Maxification. Weirdly enough, neither Della Mortez nor Gabriel are credited for the idea. After the first Xtile server was deleted, Cocaire would post this image of an animator, SodX, with the caption, I boom Xtile. Until the true cause behind the deletion was discovered, it was considered to be the official reason. Back in 2014, Crinkles and his co-worker Swain would announce a Kickstarter for their new game, Madness Project Nexus 2, a direct sequel to the Flash game they created 2 years prior to the announcement. The game would later be renamed to just Project Nexus, and the original game would be given a classic title. The Kickstarter has garnered over $64,000 and was successfully funded. The interesting thing is that at some point the Dens would receive a huge donation, far exceeding their goal. The donation turned out to be fake and the count had to be rewinded. This incident sparked theories that the donation was intentional, and since people noticed something wasn't right, it had to be refunded. For what reason the money was to be laundered is unknown. A lot of people come and go. Some create their own series spanning over a decade, like in the case of Little Lucky Link and his series The Dawn of Madness, which has been active for over 12 years now. Others simply try their hand at animating once and never come back. Most, if not all of them, never reach the end goal of it all, and that is becoming madness itself. High 111 is a forgotten case of a person who, over the course of his animating career, has gone insane, to the point where communicating with them is really difficult. Before 2012, they created a now archived movie called Madness Abstention, and for 2010, it was a good movie. Back when people didn't have the highest standards today, it was considered above average when it came to animation quality. Not much is known past that, since his Newgrounds account has been deactivated and replaced by a new one, which stays empty. Currently he's known for changing his nickname, so it's practically impossible to find him anywhere outside certain servers. A group called Big Noel Gang, which consists of veteran animators, has been known to troll him, so much so that a compilation of many such incidents has been made. This is a quick one. Around the time Yandere Dev, a parody character portrayed by a man named Alex, started getting into more and more controversy, people began comparing him to Kelzad. Reasons behind that were the myriad of similarities between the two, like similar verses and the fact that nobody actually likes them inside the community, how they both own a Patreon page, etc. If you think the comparison is unfair, I'll leave you with this screenshot and remind you that the first stage of grief is denial. This title belongs to a person who practically speedran becoming the most disliked individual you can find in the community. Some might say it's Sean T. Glover for his questionable past and superiority complex. Others might mention Bantu Atha, which we'll talk about later, but all those people are not as well known as this one. Cobbler Man, a former CRM admin which has done so many things in a short period of time that would be boring to list them all, but the highlights might interest you. It started around early to mid-2020 when the official CRM Minecraft server was being hosted. The server would be proudly claimed to be an anarchy server. No rules. The rules would stay total freedom. Except for one, no cheating. Yes, really. No cheating allowed on an anarchy server. Not because the server couldn't handle it, but just because of reasons. Cobbler, being over 30, didn't exactly know how cheats worked, or how to actually host a Minecraft server, meaning he would often mistake well-known glitches for cheating. The main player base on the server would consist of members of the Xtile community, and the silly rule of no cheating would be ignored. People would often use fly, timer, and other cheats, but at the time Cobbler couldn't do anything about it because it would mean the death of the server. Did I also mention that before the server was made public, he'd go and kill the Ender Dragon on creative just to have the Dragon Egg for himself? Because he couldn't do anything about cheating he so much despised, he would teleport to the killer's base and grief it, twice. He finally snapped when a new base was made on the roof of the Nether, directly mocking Cobbler himself. As mentioned before, he didn't know anything about well-known exploits, so he believed Xtile could somehow use creative mode and ban practically anyone who was active on the server, indeed killing it. He also contributed to the 2020 Madness Day fundraiser by donating a whopping $500, over $300 more than the Newgrounds staff themselves. And because Xtile members were the only ones making animations at that time, most of the prize pool went to them, which got Cobbler even angrier. In a fit of rage, he would get himself into more trouble by abusing his admin powers to post an NSFW image in the art section, which he commissioned from a 16-year-old artist. When evidence was recorded, the whole situation would turn into a Twitter thread by ISOLAV TV, documenting everything. Cobbler would try the "I'm sorry you found out" non-apology and would mention something about the age of consent, but it's not certain since he deleted all his replies to the thread and set his Twitter to protect it. Even for CRM standards, this whole situation was unacceptable and he has been removed from the server's admin. Olderchat is an infamous and notorious cybercrime deep web group. It's unknown whether they still exist because the member list would often change and split into smaller subgroups. Some of the members are experienced programmers and hackers capable of creating spam bots that could destroy servers, which put fear into both CRM and GP admins. Xtile didn't really care. Their most notable achievements are deleting both CRM and Xtile, creating a character that would get you muted on certain servers when posted just because it was associated with the group, and raiding a lot of smaller servers. It's also worth noting that most members are Polish. MadCzech, a Czech animators group, has been dying for months now, but what it needed to be officially announced as dead was a user Eshio joining the server. Almost immediately after it happened, the janitor would make this post on Newgrounds. Some Madness sprite creators are often very protective over their sprites, some of them demanding a credit, which in and of itself is reasonable, and some even making their creations private. An extreme case and a cautionary tale for anyone with big egos is what user Darren Madness would do. After being made fun of for being aggressively overprotective over his mediocre sprite work, he'd create a really edgy video, detailing exactly who wronged him and why. People mentioned were Ace, FDB, and Cree. You can see parts of it here, since the original has been removed.
Cree, seriously, stop being a cunt. Stop kidding. You fucking kidding me for my origins and my sprites. I've PM you to say to stop that. You have say okay, I will stop.
On the surface, Mad Gamma was firstly announced by Dakadar all the way back in 2018 as a collaborative effort, similar to that of previously mentioned Greedy Collab. It was to house well-known animators like Dazger KS, Dudingdarn, Spaders, Magnesia, and Wanford. In reality, it's a fake troll server filled with scat imagery and gay porn. As you might have guessed, it was set up by Olderchat to bait newcomers. This entry refers to the one time Sean made a playthrough series of a game Toy Story 2 for PlayStation 1, where he struggled to get a coin. Some say he eventually got it.
Didn't give me the fucking coin.
As with any genre of movies, tropes become commonplace. That holds true in the case of Madness with what's been dubbed the Wanford Syndrome, or otherwise known as the Stormtrooper aim. It's characterized with enemies missing every shot they try to fire at the protagonist, sometimes even to a ridiculous extent. Surprisingly not very common in the original series, but the tribute animations are very well known for it. It's been dubbed after an animator Juanford66, who could be considered the worst offender. Lakitty is a rather obscure account, which made hundreds of nonsense posts and comments. It's basically as if the general channel in CRM was made on a Newgrounds account back in 2008. All these could be discovered if you've been in the community for long enough, but what we're about to get into requires years of inside knowledge from the right people. General D, most well known for hosting the collab Demos is Dead, entered the community around mid-2020. A couple of days after his first movie being published, it was revealed that he's been a somewhat frequent member in the Olderchat Discord servers. Screenshots surfaced proving it, but General D himself has denied the claims ever since. Angry One was a strange case. He first started his activity on CRM, and from this point, he seemed to have some sort of problem with both Xtile and OlderChat. At first, he joined Xtile and tried to make friends with people, but in reality, he was gathering evidence to report the server and have it deleted. It didn't take long for admins to find out and ban him for being an annoying nuisance. When his first plan didn't work out, he moved on to OlderChat. Compared to Xtile, OlderChat had lots of content against Discord's terms of service, which would make reporting it an easy objective. Fortunately, Angry One, not being the sharpest tool in the shed, decided to tell Michelle, an OlderChat owner, about his plans. If that wasn't enough of a misstep, he also posted malware on the server, which in and of itself was against the Discord TOS, which got him banned. Barely anything is known about him, since he came out of nowhere and disappeared once his account was removed. People's best guess is that he was so ashamed of his epic fail that he had nothing to come back to. Dead Computer is a name you will never hear being mentioned nowadays, since an event well forgotten about even to those who were previously involved. If previously mentioned Lickitty was the embodiment of CRM, then Dead Computer is an exaggerated version of Xtile. In 2015, he was exposed as a racist white power extremist by Magnesia and some others, shutting him out of the community. It wasn't a great loss, since animation-wise he didn't really stand out, creating a couple of really average movies. He recently came back under the name Fruitmaster. It's pretty well known that Xtile has rebranded into Killer, but what isn't as well known is the time in between this event. It took a couple of months for the rebranding to complete, and while that was happening, a lot of smaller groups came up that didn't last for longer than a week. An exception to that group was named Untitled One, which was unique in not only that it lasted for about a month, but it also had no rules. It was most well known for constant ping spam and self-raids until it was completely destroyed by Discord. As mentioned before, CRM used to have a Minecraft server, where the main player base consisted of Xtile members. After setting the first base, one of the members would bring a wandering trader into the settlement, and name him MC Punjabi. As previously mentioned, Cobbler would witness how Z Pumpkin Eater would use creative mode and possibly server operator privileges to find the coordinates of the base unfairly and then raid the base with TNT. MC Punjabi was a victim of the explosions, and the incident was recorded despite the Xtile community. The name MC Punjabi reminds people why the community is so divided, and whose fault it is. The recording itself is now considered lost media, since the one who recorded and uploaded the incident has admitted to deleting it. This stems from a theory made by the user Mind that Realm 4 is a beat-for-beat copy of Madness 10. Original screenshots are hard to come by, but the theory goes something like this.
The final battle has finally begun. A foe whose encounter has been teased for the past 3 episodes is finally here. Armed with the ability to produce black smoke and summon his weapon out of nowhere, the protagonist is unable to defeat the foe. But suddenly, he's given an electric ability capable of finally harming the antagonist. The enemy sees this imbalance in power and retreats underground, leaving his minions to deal with the main character. After some casual madness action, a giant appears to stop the protagonist in his tracks. In the end, the mag agent doesn't pose as big of a threat as we initially began to think, and is swiftly dealt with. The final battle begins, as the protagonist rises into the highest heights of the world to face his arch enemy. How will it end? You'll see in the next episode as it ends on a cliffhanger.
The Ancient Machine, or the Ancient Machine of Drins, was a Discord bot created by a former member of OlderChat, named Drins. Known for being a skilled programmer, the bot was created in 2018 and was capable of filling servers with inappropriate things and eventually destroying them completely. Its main target was the GP server, which later was expanded into striking CRM as well. It didn't take much for the disaster to strike, but in the end, nothing happened, and the bot wasn't used. The bot's destructive capabilities never saw the light of day. The rumor has it that the machine is asleep to this day, waiting to be rediscovered and used whenever the time is right. We'll talk about this one later, so just remember it exists, alright? Patrick Kowalik is the name of a retired OlderChat hacker who back in 2017 would rootkit his way into accessing previously mentioned Rock Lukey's Steam account. The reason behind doing this is currently unknown, and only a picture of him has been archived.
Ocenie stara. Zmiany wprowadzone przez przepisy U i EW przywróciły stan istniejący przed nowelizacji prawa budowlanego wprowadzoną ustawą z dnia 28 lipca 2005 roku o zmianie ustawy prawo budowlane oraz o zmianie niektórych innych ustaw, Dziennik Ustaw nr 163 pozycja 1354, doprowadziły do zrównania traktowania elektrowni wiatrowych z innymi wolno stojącymi urządzeniami technicznymi, w tym w zakresie opodatkowania.
As it is commonly known, the original Madness series contains a lot of really clever nods and hints towards its complex storyline and things such as posters and background elements. Until now, no one could piece it all together, until on June 28th, a user under the nickname Rajasamai came up to the task, a person with knowledge only rivaled by previously mentioned Star Butterfly 17. She wrote her post explaining the plotline thus far. If you'd like to, you can attempt to read it. Unfortunately, we cannot abridge it, since even the writing team for this video cannot fully comprehend what this post is about. The Hero Room was a hidden Discord text channel built in Green Pepper Discord that was made to discuss the behavior of various people which were put in a blacklist for arguing multiple times with Amity, aka Cymberine, back in 2017. This blacklist involved people like Swiffer, a former moderator, and animators like Jackson, Awez, Jaisal, and Luca. Fun fact, and for some context, Kelzed got Luca to dox somebody for him around this time. It's theorized that it could be someone from Olderchat or Madcheck, since the Realm 4 soundtrack drama was going on. They were mostly encountered by Amity herself, Kelzed, and Z-Matrix. Awez and Luca discussed Amity's professionalism when it came to moderation, and Kelzed blamed these people for an orchestrated attack or raid in the art channel while blaming Swiffer for letting this event happen in the first place. After the discussion, it was decided that Amity would have a warning for admin abuse, and those who were just members would be banned from the server. Though, when people noticed a moderator had a warning, the staff would never clarify or discuss why that warning was there. After a year or two, these same people were unbanned from the Green Pepper Discord and invited back, as the co-owner of the server Gib50 put in a call. Honestly, we're adding you back because the server is kinda dead. This proved to be completely useless, because what really caused the downfall of the Green Pepper Discord was the creation of Somewhere in Nevada, the bigger Discord by the same staff.
The Mike Project is a theoretical leader of the Olderchat. The group itself is covered in mystery, so it wouldn't be surprising that their leader would be the most mystifying person of them all. Account goes by the name Michelle, and the reason why it's considered to be theoretical is that no one has confirmed whether it's a singular person or if it's an account shared between Olderchat members. A lot of conversations have been documented of them talking with other people, meaning either one could be true, as Michelle seems to possess plenty of knowledge about the community, implying that the owner of the account has been in the community for a long time. Earlier in the video, you might have heard that CRM was deleted by Olderchat with the use of bot reports.
Most notable achievements are deleting both CRM and Xtile.
But the truth is a bit more complicated than that. A theory proposed by user Happy Days claims that due to factors such as stress, frustration of running a large Discord server, the owner of CRM, Sparrow, would delete it and leave the community afterward. Due to the very sudden nature of the deletion, the moderators and admins of CRM blamed Olderchat for the deletion of the server, since they were known for their previous attacks. The testimony Michelle, the current owner of Olderchat, denied any such claims. But since they knew how gullible CRM moderators were, they would forward conflicting messages to further aggravate the mod team. It was assumed that Olderchat reported Gobbler, at the time admin of the server, because he was streaming the movie Robocop 2 illegally in the voice chat. However, there is no way that Discord staff could have responded to it that quickly, as the deletion happened while the movie was still being streamed. The theory also claims that it is possible that the CRM administration used the deletion as an excuse to implement more security into the server, as when DOM was created, phone verification was needed to join the server. With how secretive and cryptic the responses from both Sparrow and Gobbler were, there's no room for interpretation in what the truth is. Around when J Soul started development of Paradigm Madness 2 in late 2017, Alpha Nuva, the original creator of both the Paradigm Madness and Rebooting the Madness series, was on board the project and agreed to animate some scenes. However, when the release date for the collab was only a few weeks away, Alpha completely dropped support for the collab out of the blue, forcing J Soul to scramble for someone to fill the space that Alpha was meant to animate. It was found out later that Kelzad convinced Alpha Nuva to drop support for the project, using his previous working with Alpha on the cancelled version of Paradigm 2 from 2015 in order to have some leverage. Sometime after J Soul confronted Alpha with the information, Alpha deleted his account and never participated in a Madness project ever again. A seemingly lost sprite sheet made by Zero Rockluki Zero, codenamed PNF or Polish Nevada Forces. Since Rockluki wasn't the type who actually animated a lot, he would create a lot of sprites and then never use them. If not for archiving efforts of some people, this sprite sheet would be considered lost media. Since by now, Rockluki took down most of his works from his Newgrounds, it will be published in the description, cause admittedly, some work he did is quite creative, but most of it is rather silly. It would be hard to say something about Bantuafa that already hasn't been said. In short, he's the most well-documented case of a pedophile in the Madness community. Most well-documented, meaning there are other less-known cases, but we won't delve into that. It's best if we start at the beginning. His first activity would begin all the way back on September 29, 2007 with the creation of his Newgrounds account, back then named LibPunkChick. His story is not a short one, as he'd be a nuisance since the very beginning. As he was around 12 at that time, and the fact he's very autistic, he would post a lot of low-quality Madness shorts, which would all get bland, meaning that people downvoted them enough to be deleted off of Newgrounds. Sadly, no archives exist of his work prior to a video called My Crawl, which you can see here. Yes, it has no sound. You might get the picture why it didn't last long. First instance of LibPunkChick humiliation videos would be now deleted, Wampa 3 by Gabriel Barsh. Thankfully some archives exist.
You stupid noob. Your task to defeat me in his school, your honor had failed. You're ignorant. You cost your life.
This would continue until LibPunkChick would reach his boiling point and throw a temper tantrum, disappearing from Madness seemingly for good. But good times don't last forever. Now it can only get worse. Lib would come back in 2017, now known as Bantuafa. He would come back and start posting cryptic posts on his now renamed Newgrounds page. As he already wasn't welcome in X-Tile, he would spend his time in GP and CRM, continuing to annoy everyone. But since the rules of both servers didn't allow for someone to be banned for being quote-unquote annoying, he was allowed to continue. He would also start making creepy advances towards Amethy and mostly her OC, stalking her and replying whenever she spoke on GP. I think this screenshot explains everything you need to know about that. It seemed like his story was taking a circle, as people started to make fun of him. But this time he was around 22 years old. That's when a person who shall not be named for privacy's sake came out about all the underage ERP. I hope you like Madness 6, By then, people like Moxo, Darkminster, and Jackson Siegel were already investigating him and collecting the evidence, the magnum opus of which was a 30-minute recording of Bant in voice chat with a minor. Full sound file can be found in the description.
Yeah. Oh, you must have been horny by now. Oh, yeah. Scream you like. You're all mine now. Oh, what's with the crying now? Now suck my balls. Do it! Or I'll beat you up. Good. You are my 16-year-old pet.
With enough evidence, Madness detectives headed to Discord staff to get Bant banned, which eventually happened. Thing is, he could just make an alt, which he did after around 40 minutes after being banned, and Discord decided to just ignore that. Practically months of effort were wasted in a mere 40 minutes. But either way, he's still known to lurk around the Madness community, like on Crinkle's Twitch streams and less popular Madness servers, where he continues to ERP with minors. Sometime around early 2016, Crinkle showed off an early version of MC11 to members of GP, including Kelzad, Gib50, and others. Even though it was made clear to them not to record or show anybody anything, the entire thing was recorded, and several screenshots made their way around the community as a result of this. Even though it was GP that leaked the material to begin with, they will bring harsh punishments and bans upon anybody in their servers that posted screenshots or footage of MC11. This drama is mostly forgotten nowadays, but occasionally memes made from the old screenshots can be seen in the dark corners of some Madness servers. You can tell this is a pre-release leak because Auditor or Tricky Sprites is much different. I think it's finally time to address the elephant in the room. A person who's been mentioned all throughout the movie, Rock Lukey. But to explain who he is, we need to go back. Way back. The year is 2013. Rock Lukey would create his first animation-related account on a Polish site dedicated to pivot animations by the name of PivotTube. There, he would post his creations and ask for advice and discussions. His interest in Madness was quickly noticeable, as he would use Madness-related props and sprites in his tests. Before discovering Newgrounds and Flash, he would try his hand at making Madness animations in Pivot, an animating program in which pulling such a task off successfully is very difficult. But, with enough passion and perseverance, he'd keep going until switching to Adobe Flash in 2014. A year would pass without any notable events, as Rock Lukey continued to simply improve and gain modest prominence in the community. His downfall would begin at the end of 2016, as he would make the worst mistake of his whole Madness career. Back then, there weren't too many Polish people in the community, so whichever were around, they stuck together. That was the case as Rock Lukey, previously mentioned Dakdar, and newly introduced Kree would think of expanding the group they created. As Dake would find Kirks and Kree, Star Butterfly 17, Rock Lukey wanted to join the search. His find was an already retired old head animator known as Dast, mostly known for his movie Soviet Madness, which was published way back in 2009. What he didn't know was that Dast would kickstart the running joke of Older for Me, a gay site centered around older actors. That's where the name Older Chat would later come from. It will begin by comparing Rock Lukey to a picture of the stoic and deadpan stare of a person named Ishmael, a name very well known in the community by now. Rock wouldn't take kindly to these jokes, as his demeanor was very often really try-hard, mature, and calm, and in contrast with his more goofy side, which often bordered on gibberish, was revealing how fake his approach to anything was. His main characteristics would be using dots at the end of a sentence in inappropriate ways and writing heh, which would become his catchphrase. By now, the Polish group would be known as Steel Eagle, a name picked by aforementioned Rock himself, but the name wouldn't last very long, as Rock would decide to desert the group after getting sick of the ridicule. The name would slowly transition to Older Chat, and Dash would bring in more of his friends into the group, some already mentioned in the video, like in the case of The Ancient Machine. Would it not be for Zero Rock Rookie Zero, the community would have spared lots of trouble and infighting.
What the hell do you think this is? An art form? An important piece of history? It's nothing! There is no meaning, there is no purpose, there is no expression, there is no God. It is nothing but a continuous, never-ending pissing contest of pure mediocrity and unoriginality. There is nothing but who reigns the best and unoriginality until that runs dry, or who sucks the most cocks to get where they are. Under that thin, shallow surface, you get a cesspool of toxic autists and kids who are still in elementary school gather around and stare at animation tests and sprites and Kelsat and shit and shitty collabs like Haven at a fire. It's a haven, don't you see? A haven for toxicity and complete primal human retardation to run free at nobody's discretion. Those who animate the best are the retards on top. But how long until the next realm or the next parody to come out before they lose that and return to the bond feeders they once were? They are not important. That's not important. He's a narcissistic and borderline sociopathic loner who will eventually topple until everybody sees how lame and unoriginal and most of all unimportant he is as a figurehead in this community. Sean? He's a borderline pedophile on a different planet that believes that he's a hybrid of flashed animation to reach this platform to be viewed by our eyes and to be sunk into our heads. All of those are parts of the community, are condensed onto the communication platform of Discord. Hacking, espionage, extreme amounts of drama, and Cold War-like sensibilities are put into place in the communities to show which one is better. There is no better one. They're all shit. Each and every one of them. No contest. You are shit for thinking that there is anyone that reigns the greatest over the other. We have people with damaged lives, putting them into place for this, a great nothing that they think is important.